There's a guy who comes into my shop every few months in a truck he paid $6,800 for. It's got over 240,000 miles on it, a dent in the tailgate he's never bothered to fix, and an engine that has never once left him stranded. Meanwhile, I watch people trade in perfectly good vehicles every 3 years because a dashboard light scared them. Then finance a brand new truck at 8% interest for the privilege of driving something that hasn't even been proven yet. That's backwards. The used truck market right now is full of trucks that have already survived the worst years of their life. The years where bad ones get weeded out and good ones keep running. And you can buy that proven reliability for less than the down payment on a new one. Today I'm covering 3 trucks under $10,000 that are almost impossible to kill. I'm going deepest on number 1 because it might be the single toughest engine General Motors has ever put in a half-ton. Let's get into it. Number 3, the 1997 to 2003 Ford F-150 with the 4.6-liter Triton 5.8. I want to get something out of the way immediately because if you've spent any time in truck forums, you already know Ford's modular V8 family has a reputation problem, and it's mostly earned by a different engine wearing the same badge. The infamous spark plug issue that Ford owners talk about in hushed, traumatized tones is almost always tied to the 5.4-liter Triton, specifically the 2004 to 2008 3-valve version, with its 2-piece spark plugs that would snap off in the cylinder head during removal. The 4.6-liter, especially in this earlier 2-valve form, is a genuinely different story. I've personally serviced 4.6-liter F-150s past 300,000 miles with nothing beyond routine maintenance. The engine is a single overhead cam design with a simple valvetrain, cast iron block on most years, and it just does not wear out under normal use. It shares its architecture with the engine that powered the Crown Victoria and Grand Marquis for over a decade. Cars that famously ran as taxis and police cruisers for hundreds of thousands of miles without complaint. This is a proven, unglamorous, extremely durable design. Now, the spark plug issue does technically exist on these 2-valve engines too, but it's a different animal than the 5.4's problem. On trucks from 1997 to 2002, the aluminum cylinder heads had shallow threads for the spark plugs, and if a plug wasn't torqued correctly, it could eventually work loose and blow out of the head while the engine was running. It sounds alarming, and it can be, but it's also completely preventable. Ford corrected the thread depth starting with the 2003 model year, so if you're shopping specifically for this generation, an early 2003 truck gives you the improved heads with the simpler 2-valve engine, which is close to the sweet spot for this platform. On any year, if you're buying one with the original spark plug still in it, budget for a careful, properly torqued plug replacement using a torque wrench, not an impact gun. And consider having a shop install thread inserts while they're in there for extra peace of mind. Pricing on these is where it gets almost silly. A 1999 to 2002 F-150 with the 4.6-liter V8. Somewhere around 150,000 to 200,000 miles, regularly sells for $4,000 to $7,000 depending on condition and region. These trucks were sold in enormous numbers, so parts are everywhere and cheap. An alternator is under $150. A water pump is a $200 to $300 job. When you're inspecting one, check for coolant leaks around the intake manifold, particularly on trucks from 1996 to 2000, since the plastic intake gaskets on these early engines are a known wear item and a fairly affordable fix. Check the exhaust manifolds for cracking, which causes a ticking sound on cold starts and is common but not serious. And obviously, have a mechanic check torque on the spark plugs if you don't know the service history. Who should buy this truck? Anyone who wants full-size capability, a genuinely bulletproof V8, and doesn't need the latest technology. Who should skip it? If you're nervous about the spark plug history, no matter how well I explain it, I understand, and there's no shame in that. Let's move to something with a completely different reputation. Number 2, the 2005 to 2015 Toyota Tacoma with the 4.0-liter V6. If you want a truck that will genuinely still be running when the world ends, this is usually the first one people mention, and there's real substance behind the hype, even if it's not quite the perfect machine the internet makes it out to be. The engine here is the 1GR-FE, a 4.0-liter V6 that Toyota also used in the 4Runner and the FJ Cruiser. It's chain-driven, so there's no timing belt service to worry about. It's naturally aspirated with no turbo to eventually fail. And it was engineered with the kind of conservative, overbuilt tolerances Toyota is known for. I've had these engines on my lift past 250,000 miles, running clean compression across all 6 cylinders, with nothing more than oil changes and basic maintenance behind them. Here's where I want to be straight with you instead of just repeating internet mythology. RepairPal's data actually shows the Tacoma's average annual repair cost at $478, which is genuinely low, well below the mid-size truck average. But the probability of a major repair on the Tacoma runs a bit higher than the segment average, and that's mostly tied to 2 things worth knowing before you buy. The first is the frame rust issue on 2005 to 2010 models, which was serious enough that Toyota ran a frame buyback and rust repair program for years. Any Tacoma from this window needs a physical frame inspection, not just a service record check, because rust doesn't show up on a Carfax. The second is the lower ball joint recall, another well-documented issue Toyota addressed under warranty on many trucks. But you want to confirm it was actually done on the specific truck you're looking at. None of this makes the Tacoma a bad buy. It makes it a truck you inspect carefully rather than one you buy blind because of its reputation. Pricing for a 2007 to 2011 Tacoma with the V6, somewhere in the 140,000 to 180,000 mile range, typically runs $8,000 to $10,000, which puts you right at the edge of this budget but still well under what a comparable Tacoma from a newer generation would cost. Toyota resale values are famously stubborn, which is annoying if you're buying, but it also means when you eventually sell, you won't lose nearly as much as you would on almost anything else in this list. When you're shopping, get underneath it with a flashlight and check the frame behind the rear axle and around the cross members for scaling or flaking rust, not just surface discoloration. Check for a completed frame recall or replacement in the paperwork. Listen for clunking over bumps that could indicate worn ball joints or tie rod ends. And check the automatic transmission for rough or delayed shifting at higher mileage, since some owners report shift quality issues as these trucks pass 150,000 miles. Handle those checks, and you're looking at one of the longest living engines on the used market. But as good as the Tacoma is, number 1 is the truck I've been recommending most often to anyone who asks me what to buy under $10,000, because it combines full-size capability, dead simple mechanical design, and a purchase price that genuinely doesn't make sense for what you're getting. If straight talk like this is helping you shop smarter, hit subscribe, because I've got more videos coming on exactly which trucks to buy and which ones to avoid. Number 1. The 1999 to 2006 Chevrolet Silverado 1500 and GMC Sierra. 1500 with the 5.3-liter Vortec V8, specifically the LM7. I need you to understand why I'm this specific about the engine code, because this is the single most important detail in this entire video. Chevrolet used the 5.3-liter Vortec badge for years, but the engine changed dramatically over that time, and not always for the better. Starting in 2007, GM introduced active fuel management, a cylinder deactivation system that shuts down 4 cylinders under light load to save fuel. On paper, it's clever. In reality, it became infamous for causing excessive oil consumption and, on later versions, lifter failures that can require a full valve train rebuild. That is not the engine I'm telling you to buy. The LM7, built from 1999 to 2006, has none of that. No cylinder deactivation, no variable valve timing, nothing but a cast iron block, aluminum heads, sequential port fuel injection, and about as simple a pushrod V8 design as you'll find in a modern truck. This engine produced 270 to 295 horsepower depending on the exact year, and it earned a genuine reputation, not internet hype, but documented, repeated real-world results of routinely crossing 250,000 to 300,000 miles without needing internal engine work. I have watched customers put well over 200,000 miles on these trucks doing nothing but oil changes, brakes, and the occasional water pump, and the engine still pulls strong and doesn't burn a drop of oil between changes. There is exactly one well-known weak point on the early LM7, and it's a cheap one. The 1999 to 2001 trucks used plastic lower intake manifold gaskets that can degrade over time. and leak coolant into the engine or onto the ground. It sounds scary, but any competent shop can replace these gaskets for a few $100s, and once it's done, the issue is gone for good. If you're looking at a truck from this window, ask directly whether the intake gaskets have already been replaced. If they have, that truck just became one of the most bulletproof used vehicles on the entire market. If they haven't, factor the repair into your offer and get it done proactively rather than waiting for a failure. Here's what makes this truck the #1 pick on this list. A 2002 to 2005 Silverado or Sierra with the 5.3-liter V8, somewhere around 150,000 to 200,000 miles. Regularly sells for $5,500 to $9,000 depending on trim, cab configuration, and condition. That's a full-size, half-ton pickup with real towing capacity, a torquey V8, and one of the most proven drivetrains GM has ever produced, for less money than a lot of used compact sedans. Parts availability is enormous because GM built these in staggering numbers across the Silverado, Sierra, Tahoe, Suburban, and Yukon, which means an alternator is around $150, a water pump is $200 to $250, and brake jobs are as cheap as they get on a full-size truck. When you're shopping, ask about the intake gasket service history on 1999 to 2001 trucks specifically. Check the transmission, since the 4L60E behind these engines is a capable unit, but can develop shift shudder or slipping if fluid changes were neglected. And a fluid and filter service often resolves early symptoms for a couple $100s. Inspect the frame and rocker panels for rust if the truck came from a northern or coastal state, since the body and frame will show wear long before this engine will. Check for a consistent idle and listen for any ticking on cold start that could indicate exhaust manifold cracking, a known but affordable issue on these engines. Handle those checks, and you are driving away with one of the most durable half-ton V8s ever built, for the price of a used economy car. So there it is. 3 trucks that mechanics actually trust while everyone else fights over overpriced late-model leases. The Ford F-150 with the 4.6-liter Triton, a genuinely tough engine wrongly lumped in with its problematic 5.4-liter sibling. The Toyota Tacoma with the 4.0-liter V6, a legendary engine wrapped in a truck that rewards careful inspection. And the Chevrolet Silverado with the LM7 5.3-liter V8, the single toughest, simplest, most proven half-ton engine you can buy for under $10,000. You now know 3 trucks that will outlast payments on something twice their price. If this kind of straight talk helps you shop smarter, hit subscribe. I've got more videos coming on the vehicles mechanics actually trust versus the ones dealerships push. Drive safe, take care of your truck, and it'll take care of you. I'll see you in the next one.